Rain fell with an almost vindictive violence on the national highway cutting through the interior of Portugal. Lightning tore through the dark sky, momentarily illuminating the desolate landscape of twisted olive trees and abandoned fields. It was one of those nights when any sensible person would be at home, by the fireplace, far from the fury of the elements, but Ricardo Almeida was no ordinary person. At 42 years old, he was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, owner of a chain of luxury hotels that stretched from Lisbon to the Algarve. His name was synonymous with excellence, innovation, and relentless success. Business magazines adored him, competitors feared him, investors courted him. However, in that moment, as he drove his silver Mercedes S-Class along the dark and treacherous road, Ricardo didn't feel successful. He felt empty, hollow, like a beautiful shell with nothing inside. The meeting in Faro had been a resounding success. He had just closed a €15 million deal for the acquisition of a seaside resort. He should have been euphoric. Instead, he felt only a deep, existential fatigue that no amount of money or success seemed to cure. It had been 3 years, 3 months, and 17 days, because Ricardo counted each day since he had lost his wife Clara and son Miguel in a car accident, a runaway truck on a highway. Instant death, the doctors told him, as if that were any consolation. No suffering. Quick. But Ricardo's suffering had not been quick. It had been slow, corrosive, destroying him from the inside out. He had transformed into an efficient money-making machine, but had stopped being human. He worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. He had no friends, only associates. No personal life, only meetings and more meetings. His therapist, because he had tried even that, in a desperate attempt to fill the void, had told him he was avoiding processing his grief. Ricardo had fired him the next session. He didn't need anyone to tell him the obvious. That night, he had decided to make the journey from Faro to Lisbon alone, without his usual driver. He needed time to think, or rather, he needed time not to think, letting the monotonous hum of the engine and the rhythmic beating of the windshield wipers lull him into a kind of mobile meditation. It was almost 10 at night when he saw the figure. Initially, he thought it was a hallucination, a trick of the rain and the headlights. But then the Mercedes xenon headlights illuminated the scene with brutal clarity. A woman, completely soaked, was standing on the side of the road. In her arms, a baby. Beside her, clinging to her legs like shipwreck survivors to wreckage, 2 small girls. Ricardo's instinct was to keep going. It wasn't his business. It could be dangerous. It could be a trap. These were strange times, and stories of elaborate robberies were not uncommon. But there was something about that woman's posture, a mixture of desperation and dignity, that made him brake sharply. The Mercedes skidded slightly on the wet asphalt before stopping completely, about 10 meters from the small family. Ricardo sat there for a moment, hands gripping the leather steering wheel, heart beating faster than it should. All his self-preservation instincts, carefully constructed over 3 years of emotional isolation, screamed at him to hit the accelerator and disappear into the rainy night. But then the middle girl, she must have been about 5 or 6 years old, began to cough. It wasn't a normal cough. It was a convulsive, hoarse cough that made her entire small body shake. The woman hugged her tighter, trying to protect her from the rain with her own body, but it was useless. They were all soaked to the bone. With a resigned sigh, Ricardo lowered the electric window. Rain immediately entered, splashing his face in designer's suit. "Do you need help?" he shouted over the noise of the storm. The woman turned toward him. Even in the darkness, even with the rain distorting everything, Ricardo could see her eyes. They were brown eyes, large, full of a fear so deep it made him shudder. But there was also a strength there, a fierce determination, that surprised him. She moved, slowly, toward the car, the girls glued to her. When she reached the window, Ricardo could see her better. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with dark hair that stuck to her face. Thin, too thin, with deep dark circles that spoke of sleepless nights. Her face, despite her youth, was marked by an exhaustion that went far beyond physical tiredness. "Please, sir," she said, her voice hoarse. "Our car broke down miles ago. I've tried to get a ride, but no one stops. My daughters," her voice broke. "They're so cold. We just need to get to the next town. Anywhere with a roof." Ricardo looked at the 3 girls. The oldest, about 8 years old maybe, had eyes too serious for her age. She looked directly at him with disconcerting intensity. The middle one continued coughing, her small body trembling violently, and the baby in her mother's arms cried softly, a weak cry that was heartbreaking. All his defenses, all his rational justifications for moving on, crumbled in that moment, because Ricardo saw, in those 3 soaked and cold girls, his own son, Miguel. He saw all the times Miguel had been sick, and he had been there to comfort him. He saw all the times he hadn't been there, and he saw that last time when Miguel needed him and he was in a damned meeting. "Get in," said Ricardo, unlocking the doors with an electronic click. His voice came out firmer than he expected. "I won't leave you here." The woman hesitated for only a second before opening the back door. With quick but careful movements, she settled the baby in the middle seat, then helped the other two girls get in. Finally, she entered herself, closing the door against the storm outside. The silence inside the car was almost deafening compared to the roar of the rain. Only the middle girl's heavy breathing and the baby's soft crying could be heard. Ricardo turned the heat up to maximum. Warm air began to circulate, bringing with it the smell of wet clothes and something more, fear. Ricardo realized the acrid smell of fear. Through the rearview mirror, he observed the small family. The woman hugged the three girls as if she feared someone might snatch them from her at any moment. The oldest girl looked around the luxurious car interior with an unchanging expression. The middle one was leaning against her mother, still coughing sporadically, and the baby, gradually, began to calm down with the warmth. "How long have you been on the road?" asked Ricardo, putting the car back in motion. Since the afternoon," the woman replied, her voice low. "The car broke down around 4. We tried to walk, but with the girls. And then it started raining." Ricardo did the mental math. It was almost 10 at night. That meant they had been out in the open for 6 hours. 6 hours on a stormy night, with 3 small children. Where exactly did the car break down? About 15 kilometers back, maybe more. I lost count. 15 kilometers. They had walked 15 kilometers in the rain. Ricardo felt an involuntary wave of respect for that woman. Whatever had led her to that road, she had iron determination. "What's your name?" he asked. There was a pause, too long to be natural. "Helena," she said finally. "My name is Helena, and your daughters?" The oldest girl answered before her mother could speak. "I'm Sophia. This is Beatrice." She pointed to her coughing sister. "And the baby is Leonor." Sophia's voice was clear, articulate, surprisingly mature for an 8-year-old child. Ricardo turned briefly to look at her through the mirror. The serious eyes returned his gaze without blinking. "Pleased to meet you," said Ricardo. "My name's Ricardo. You have a very beautiful car, Mr. Ricardo," observed Sophia. "Is it very expensive, Sophia?" reprimanded Helena, blushing. "Don't be rude," but Ricardo smiled for the first time in weeks. "It's no problem." "Yes, Sophia, it's quite expensive, but you know what? Right now, the only important thing is that it's warm and will take you to a safe place." Beatrice had another coughing fit, this one more violent than the previous ones. Helena hugged her tighter, making comforting sounds, but the panic was visible on her face. "That cough doesn't sound good at all," said Ricardo, making a decision. "There's a hospital in Villarreal, about 30 kilometers from here. I think we'd better take Beatrice to be examined." "No," Helena's response was quick, almost desperate. "No, we don't need a hospital. She'll be fine. She just needs to stay warm and dry." Ricardo frowned. "Helena, with all due respect, that cough sounds serious. The girl may have caught pneumonia or something worse after spending 6 hours in the rain." I said no. Helena was now visibly agitated, her hands trembling. "We can't go to a hospital. We can't. They ask questions. They need identification. I can't. We can't." And it was at that moment that Ricardo understood. This wasn't simply a family with bad luck. Helena was running from something, or from someone. The silence in the car became tense. Ricardo could feel Helena's fear, palpable like a physical presence. Sophia hugged her sister closer, her serious eyes fixed on her mother. Even little Leonor seemed to sense the tension, starting to whimper softly again. Ricardo made a decision. Whatever Helena's situation was, whoever was making her feel this way, it was wrong. And it had nothing to do with what she deserved or didn't deserve. "Listen, Helena," he said, keeping his voice calm and non-threatening. "I don't know what's going on in your life, and you don't need to tell me if you don't want to. But your daughter needs to see a doctor. That's non-negotiable. You don't understand. You're right, I don't understand. But I understand this. Beatrice could be seriously ill, and if she's not treated, she could get much worse." He paused, carefully choosing his next words. "As for the hospital, the questions, the identification, leave that to me. I know people. I can ensure discretion." Helena's voice was almost a whisper. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Ricardo was silent for a long moment, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. The rain continued to fall. The windshield wipers moved hypnotically from side to side, and in his mind, as always, was the image of that terrible day 3 years ago. He was in a meeting when he received the phone call, a meeting about profit margins and quarterly projections. Things that seemed so important at the time. The phone rang and rang, but he ignored it, irritated by the interruption. When he finally answered, in the final minutes of the meeting, it was too late. Clara and Miguel were already gone, and the last thing Miguel had said to him that morning, when Ricardo rushed out of the house, was, "Dad, will you make it to my soccer game today?" Ricardo had said yes, but it was a lie. He had scheduled that damned meeting exactly at the time of the game. he would never make it in time for anything, ever again. Because someone should have helped my family when they needed it, Ricardo said finally, his voice hoarse with emotion, and no one did. So maybe, if I help you somehow, he couldn't finish the sentence. Helena looked at him through the rearview mirror, and something in her gaze changed. The distrust didn't disappear completely. It was too deeply rooted for that, but it softened slightly. All right, she said, the words clearly costing her. Let's go to the hospital. Ricardo nodded and accelerated toward Villarreal. Beatrice continued, coughing, but now she was nestled between her mother and sister, the warmth of the car finally penetrating her frozen bones. Sophia remained vigilant, her serious eyes passing between her mother and Ricardo, as if constantly assessing whether they had made the right decision. And little Leonor, blessedly, had fallen asleep in Helena's arms, her face finally serene. The Villarreal hospital rose against the night sky like a fortress of light. Ricardo parked the Mercedes in the area, reserved for emergencies, not caring about the looks from the security guard. Stay here for a moment, he instructed. I'm going to talk to someone first. Before Helena could protest, Ricardo had already left the car and entered through the automatic emergency room doors. The characteristic hospital smell, disinfectant, illness, and desperation hit him immediately, bringing painful memories of that terrible night 3 years ago. He shook his head, pushing away the memories. This wasn't about him. It was about a girl who needed help. The receptionist, a middle-aged woman with a tired look, looked up when he approached the counter. Good evening. I need urgent help for a child, said Ricardo, already taking out his wallet, and I need maximum discretion. The woman raised an eyebrow, her gaze passing from Ricardo's expensive suit to the leather wallet in his hand. Sir, here we treat all patients with the same. You misunderstood me, interrupted Ricardo, discreetly placing several €100 notes on the counter. The child needs urgent treatment. The family is in a delicate situation. No questions about identification, no official records for now. Can I? The receptionist looked at the money, then at Ricardo, then at the money again. There was a visible battle happening in her expression between professional integrity and the practical reality that money probably represented more than she earned in a month. Dr. Carville, who is on duty, she said finally, making the money disappear with a quick movement. Third office on the right. He's discreet. 5 minutes later, Ricardo was back at the car with a wheelchair and a young doctor in a white coat. Dr. Mariana Carville, who was about 35 years old, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. So this is the little patient, she said softly, opening the back door of the car. Hello, dear. Your name is Beatrice, isn't it? Beatrice nodded timidly, still clinging to her mother. We're going to make you feel better, okay? Dr. Carvalho extended her arms. Will you come with me? Helena held her daughter for a moment before letting her go. The doctor picked up Beatrice with the ease of someone accustomed to dealing with frightened children and carried her to the wheelchair. And the rest of the family? Asked the doctor, looking at Helena and the other two girls. They'll stay with me in the waiting room, said Ricardo quickly, unless you need everyone for the examination. No, that's not necessary. But the mother should come. Helena passed Leonor into Sophia's arms with quick instructions and followed the doctor inside the hospital. Ricardo was left with Sophia and Leonor beside the car, the rain finally slowing to a persistent drizzle. Your sister will be fine, he said to Sophia, not quite knowing what to say. How do you know? Sophia looked at him with those serious eyes. The question caught Ricardo off guard. It wasn't the kind of question an 8-year-old child normally asked. Well, because she's in a hospital with good doctors. Doctors can't cure everything, said Sophia with disturbing conviction. Sometimes people die anyway. Ricardo knelt down to be at eye level with her, the drizzle wetting the back of his suit. You're right, doctors can't cure everything, but they'll do their best for Beat. And sometimes, our best is all we can do. Sophia studied him for a long moment. You lost someone, didn't you? That's why you're helping us. You couldn't help them, so you're helping us. This child's perception was frightening. Ricardo felt a lump in his throat. Yes, he admitted. I lost people very important to me, and no, I couldn't help them. But I can help you. Then you're not a bad person, decided Sophia. My mother is afraid of all people now, but I think she doesn't need to be afraid of you. Why do you think that? Because bad people don't stop in the rain to help strangers. Bad people. Her voice got lower, almost a whisper. Bad people hurt the people they're supposed to love. Ricardo felt a chill run down his spine. There was a story there, a dark story he was beginning to understand. Your mother is very brave, he said softly. I know, responded Sophia. She had to be. Someone had to save us, so she saved us ourselves. Before Ricardo could respond, Lena began to whimper in Sophia's arms. The 8-year-old girl rocked her baby sister with a competence that spoke of much practice. Let's go inside, said Ricardo, standing up. You're getting cold. Inside the hospital, they found an almost empty waiting room. Ricardo settled them in comfortable chairs while he went to get hot chocolates from the vending machine. Sophia drank hers slowly, eyes constantly on the door, through which her mother and Beatrice had disappeared. 45 minutes passed before Helena reappeared. She came alone, her face pale. Beatrice has acute bronchitis, she said, her voice trembling. The doctor says that if we had waited another day, it could have developed into pneumonia. Tears began to roll down her face. She could have died. My baby could have died because of me. Ricardo stood up and, in an impulse that surprised him as much as her, placed a hand on Helena's shoulder. It wasn't your fault. You did what you had to do to protect your daughters. And now, Beatrice is going to be fine. But the treatment, the medications, Helena looked at him with desperation. I don't have money. I spent everything I had on the car that broke down and food for the girls. I have nothing. It's already taken care of, said Ricardo firmly. Don't worry about money. I can't accept more from you. You've already done so much. Helena, look at me. He waited until she raised her tear-reddened eyes. Money means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. But your daughters mean everything to you. Let me do this. Sophia, who had been observing the entire exchange, squeezed her mother's hand. Mom, he's a good person. We can trust him. Helena looked at her daughter, then at Ricardo, then at the other two girls. And finally, she nodded. It was almost 2 in the morning when they left the hospital. Beatrice was medicated and sleeping in Helena's arms, with a prescription for antibiotics in her pocket and strict instructions for rest for at least 5 days. Ricardo had paid for everything without hesitation. The consultation, the medications, even extra supplies the doctor suggested. Helena tried to protest at each item, but he simply ignored her. Now, back in the Mercedes, Ricardo faced a dilemma. Originally, the plan was to take them to the next town, leave him at an inn, and continue on his way. But looking at those 4 exhausted figures, Helena practically staggering with tiredness, Sophia fighting to keep her eyes open, Beatrice feverish and sick, and little Leonore snoring softly, he knew he couldn't simply abandon them. More than that, he didn't want to abandon them. It was a strange, almost frightening feeling. For 3 years, he had carefully protected himself from any kind of emotional attachment. He hadn't allowed anyone to get close. It was safer that way. You couldn't lose what you didn't have. But something about these 4 people, perhaps their vulnerability, perhaps the reflection of his own pain in Helena's eyes, perhaps Sophia's frightening perception had penetrated his defenses. He made a decision. Helena, we need to talk, he said. When everyone was settled in the car, she looked at him with tired, suspicious eyes. About what? About what we're going to do now. Where were you heading when the car broke down? There was a pause. Helena looked at her daughters, checking that they were all falling asleep, before responding. Porto, my sister lives there. She's the only family I have left. And how long does it take to get to Porto from here? About 3-4 hours by car. Helena lowered her eyes. But we don't have a car now, or money for a bus. I was going to try to hitchhike. Ricardo shook his head. That's not safe, especially with 3 small children, one of them sick. And if you're running from someone, how do you know I'm running? Interrupted Helena, her body tense. A woman alone, with 3 daughters, no money, no car, desperate enough to walk 15 kilometers in the rain, afraid to go to the hospital because of identification. Ricardo looked at her through the rearview mirror. You don't need to be a genius to figure out you're running from something, or from someone. Helena didn't respond, but the way she hugged Beatrice tighter said everything. You don't need to tell me now, continued Ricardo, but you need to be realistic about the situation. You can't travel like this, with Beatrice sick, and it's not safe to stay in just any inn if someone is looking for you. So what do you suggest? Asked Helena, her voice laden with exhaustion and defeat. Ricardo took a deep breath. What he was about to say next would change everything. He knew that, but he had already made the decision. Come with me. I have a house in Sintra. It's big, has more than enough rooms, and has security. You can stay there until Beatrice recovers, and until we arrange a safe way to get you to Porto. No. Helena's answer was immediate. We don't know you. We know nothing about you. You could be, what? Dangerous. Ricardo turned in his seat to face her directly. Helena, if I wanted to hurt you, I would have had 1,000 opportunities already. I could have left you on the road. I could have not taken you to the hospital. I could have not paid for the treatment, but I did all of that. Why? Because, unlike the person you're running from, I don't want to hurt you. I want to help. But why? Insisted Helena. Nobody does this for strangers. You have to want something in return. Ricardo sighed, running his hand through his already wet hair. All right, do you want the truth? The complete truth? He didn't wait for an answer. 3 years ago, I lost my wife and son in an accident. I was in a meeting when it happened, a stupid meeting about numbers and profits while my family was dying. Since then, I've been living like a ghost. Work, sleep, wake up, work again. I feel nothing. I care about nothing. Until tonight. He paused, carefully choosing his words. Tonight, I saw you on the road and something inside me woke up. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something beyond emptiness. I felt responsibility, empathy, maybe even hope. And yes, maybe it's selfish, but I need this as much as you do. I need to do something that matters. I need to feel human again. The silence in the car was absolute. Even Sophia, whom he thought was sleeping, had her eyes open, watching him. I'm not asking you to trust me immediately, continued Ricardo. I know you have reasons not to trust men, but I give you my word and I can give you references, show you documents, whatever you want that my house is safe. Donna Amelia, my housekeeper, lives there. She's 60 years old and is like a mother to me. You can have the entire second floor just for you. Doors with keys, privacy, security, and how long can we stay? Asked Helena, her voice small. As long as you need. Until Beatrice is completely recovered. Until you feel ready to continue your journey. Until, he hesitated, until you feel safe again. Helena looked at her daughters. Sophia gave her a small nod. Beatrice, even sleeping, was clinging to her, and Leonore snored peacefully, finally warm and dry. Finally, Helena made the most frightening and most courageous decision of her life. All right, we'll go with you, but only until Beatrice gets better. And at the first strange thing, we're leaving. Ricardo nodded, feeling a weight he didn't know he was carrying lift slightly from his chest. Fair, I wouldn't expect less. As he put the car in motion towards Sintra, Ricardo picked up his phone and pressed a contact. Amelia. I'm sorry to wake you at this hour, he said, when the call was answered. A female voice, sleepy but immediately alert, responded from the other end. Menino Ricardo, is everything okay? Did something happen? Donna Amelia Rodriguez had worked for the Almeida family for 40 years. She had been Ricardo's nanny when he was a child, then the housekeeper when he grew up. When Clara and Miguel died, she was the one who prevented him from completely sinking into despair. She was the only person in the world Ricardo trusted completely. Everything's fine, Amelia, but I need you. I'll arrive in about 2 hours with the guests, a lady and 3 children, small ones. They need a place to stay. There was a significant pause on the other end of the line. Children? Menino Ricardo? Yes. 3 girls, 8 years old, 5 years old, and a baby. One of them is sick. They'll need a guest room on the second floor, the one with the private bathroom. And if you could prepare something warm to eat, I'm already up, said Amelia. And Ricardo could hear the sound of movement through the phone. I'll prepare the blue room. It's the warmest. And I'll make soup and fresh bread. Amelia, don't say anything. Menino Ricardo, she interrupted gently. If you brought these people home, you have your reasons, and I trust you. After hanging up, Ricardo drove in silence for a few minutes. Through the rearview mirror, he saw that Helena was watching him. Donna Amelia seems nice, she said hesitantly. She's the best person I know, responded Ricardo with conviction. She practically raised me. When my mother died, I was 10 years old. My father was always working, so it was Amelia who took care of me. Who taught me everything that matters, like making money? Asked Sophia unexpectedly. Ricardo smiled, despite the gravity of the situation. No, Sophia, like being a good person. Money is easy to make when you have no scruples. The hard part is making money and keeping your soul intact. And did you manage? Insisted Sophia, with that direct curiosity of hers. Ricardo thought about it. I don't know. Ask me in a few weeks. The journey to Sintra took 2.5 hours. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the world washed and bright under the timid light of the moon that began to peek between the clouds. Ricardo drove on autopilot, his mind processing everything that had happened on that unlikely night. Just a few hours ago, he was returning from Faro, alone and empty, planning another night of work until falling asleep from exhaustion. Now, he had 4 people dependent on him, trusting him, and for the first time in 3 years, he felt useful, necessary, alive. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. When the automatic gates of the property opened, Helena let out a small gasp of shock. Even in the darkness, the mansion was impressive. 3 floors of elegant architecture, tall windows reflecting the moonlight, an immense garden with fountains and sculptures. It wasn't ostentation. Ricardo had always hated ostentation, but rather elegance. The kind of beauty that comes from generations of good taste and discreet money. My God, murmured Helena. This is your house. Yes, responded Ricardo simply, parking in front of the main entrance. It looks like a castle, said Sophia, her eyes wide. Sometimes it feels like one, admitted Ricardo, turning off the engine. Too big for one person alone. The main door opened before they could get out of the car. Donna Amelia was there, a small, round figure in a blue velvet robe, her gray hair pulled back in a bun, her brown eyes sparkling with warmth and curiosity. Menino Ricardo, she called, descending the steps with surprising agility for her 60 years. Then she saw Helena and the girls getting out of the car, and her face lit up. Oh, my loves, look how wet and tired you are. Come, I have everything ready." There was something in Amelia's voice, a maternal warmth, an unconditional acceptance that made Helena start crying silently. Sophia hugged her mother, her own eyes bright with unshed tears. Amelia didn't hesitate. She enveloped Helena in a firm embrace, then knelt down to be at Sophia's level. "So you must be the brave girl who took care of her sisters," she said softly. "You did a wonderful job, dear. But now you can rest. Donna Amelia will take care of all of you." Sophia, who had been so strong throughout the ordeal, finally broke down. She hugged Amelia and cried great sobs of relief and exhaustion that broke the heart. Ricardo watched the scene with a lump in his throat. Then he picked up Beatrice, still sleeping, from Helena's arms and Leonore from Sophia's arm. "Let's go inside," he said softly. "You've had a long enough night." Inside the mansion, Amelia had transformed the second-floor guest room into a kind of sanctuary. The huge double bed was covered with fresh Egyptian cotton sheets. There was a crib set up beside it, clearly brought from storage and prepared hastily. Extra pillows and blankets were scattered across the bed, creating a cozy nest. The fireplace in the corner was lit, filling the room with warmth and dancing light. On the table beside the bed, there was a steaming soup service, fresh bread, and warm milk. "I thought the girls might need to eat something before sleeping," explained Amelia. "And you too, madam, if I may say so?" Helena looked around the room with an expression that mixed admiration and disbelief. It's too much. We can't accept." "You can and will accept," said Amelia firmly but gently. "Now, let's take care of these girls. Where are dry clothes?" Helena blushed with shame. We don't have any. We only have the clothes we're wearing." Amelia exchanged a quick look with Ricardo. "That's no problem. I have some big nightshirts. That will do for tonight. Tomorrow, we'll see about proper clothes." She turned to Ricardo. "Menino Ricardo, go get those shirts from my cedar chest. You know which ones." Ricardo nodded and left, leaving Amelia in charge. When he returned with the nightshirts, large cotton shirts that smelled of lavender, Amelia already had Sophia and Beatrice sitting on the bed, eating soup. Beatrice was finally awake, her eyes still glassy with fever, but at least conscious. She ate slowly, small spoonfuls of soup that Amelia gave her with the patience of a grandmother. "That's right, dear," murmured Amelia. "One more spoonful. It will make you feel better." Sophia ate more vigorously, clearly famished. Between bites of bread, she looked around the room with those serious, observant eyes. "Donna Amelia," she said finally, "is Mr. Ricardo a good person?" Amelia smiled, the wrinkles around her eyes deepening. "Oh, my dear, Ricardo is the best person I know. He has a heart of gold, even if he sometimes forgets it. He lost his family," continued Sophia. "Is that why he's helping us?" Amelia looked at Ricardo, who was leaning against the doorframe, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Yes," she said simply. "He lost people very dear to him, and that left him very sad. But you know what I think? I think you can also help him as much as he's helping you." Sophia considered this while chewing thoughtfully. "That seems fair," she decided finally. After they ate, Amelia bathed the three girls in an adjacent bathroom that had an enormous bathtub. Helena tried to help, but Amelia insisted that she also needed to eat and rest. So Helena was left alone with Ricardo in the sitting room adjacent to the bedroom, eating soup in silence. The discomfort was palpable. "About the clothes," began Ricardo. "Tomorrow I can take Sophia to buy some basic things for all of you. Or, if you prefer, I can ask my assistant too." "No," interrupted Helena. "You've already done too much. I can't accept more charity." "It's not charity," said Ricardo, trying to maintain patience. "They're basic necessities. Then I'll work to pay for them," declared Helena, raising her chin stubbornly. "There must be something I can do. Clean, cook, whatever." Ricardo sighed. "Helena Amelia already takes care of the house, and we have a cleaning service that comes 3 times a week." "I don't need then I can't stay," said Helena, standing up abruptly. "I won't be dead weight. I won't be kept." It was the way she said the last word, with so much disgust and so much fear, that made Ricardo understand, whoever the man was that she was running from, he had made her feel that way, powerless, dependent, controlled. "Listen," he said softly. "I'm not trying to control you or make you dependent, but can you explain to me how you're going to work when you have a sick daughter who needs constant care for at least 5 days? Beatrice needs you, the other girls need you. And to take care of them properly, you need to be rested, fed, and without additional stress." Single quotes. Helena opened her mouth to protest, but Ricardo continued. "Give yourself a week, just 1 week. Stay here, take care of your daughters, let them recover, and then, if you still want to work to pay for the clothes and food, we'll see what we can arrange. But for now, just accept the help. Please." Helena looked him in the eyes, searching for, what? Signs of manipulation, of control, of ulterior motives. Ricardo kept his gaze steady, letting her see whatever she wanted. Finally, she nodded slowly. 1 week, she said. and then we talk. Deal. Amelia returned with the three girls clean and dressed in enormous nightshirts that made them look like adorable little ghosts. Sophia and Beatrice were yawning uncontrollably. Leonor was already falling asleep on Amelia's shoulder. "These little ones are falling asleep," announced Amelia. "Let's put them to bed." They settled Beatrice and Sophia in the big bed, and Leonor in the crib beside it. Helena sat on the edge of the bed, stroking her older daughter's hair until they fell asleep. It took less than 5 minutes for all three to be deeply asleep. "Now it's your turn," said Amelia to Helena. "Take a hot bath, wear this," she handed her another nightshirt, "and go to sleep. The girls are safe. I'll be right next door. If they need anything, Amelia, you can't stay up all night because of us." "I can and I will," said Amelia firmly. "I sleep in the room next door. I'll leave the door open. At the first sound, I'll be here. Now go." Helena looked at her sleeping daughters, then at Ricardo and Amelia. In her eyes was a mixture of gratitude, fear, and absolute exhaustion. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't know how I'll ever be able to thank you." "You already have," said Ricardo, "by trusting us. Now rest." After Helena had retired to the bathroom, Ricardo and Amelia stood in the hallway. "It's a complicated situation, isn't it?" said Amelia quietly. "Very," admitted Ricardo. "She's clearly running from someone who hurt her badly, and you're going to protect her. It wasn't a question." "I'll do what I can." Amelia looked at him with those wise brown eyes that knew him better than he knew himself. "It's the first time in 3 years I've seen you really alive. Menino Ricardo, this woman and these children. They've done something I couldn't do. They've brought you back." Ricardo didn't know what to say to that, because it was true. In the last few hours, he had felt more emotions: fear, worry, anger, hope, tenderness than in the last 3 years combined. "Go to sleep, Amelia," he said finally. "You must be exhausted. And I'm going to work a bit. I have emails to answer." It was a lie, and they both knew it, but Amelia didn't insist. She just kissed his cheek and retired to her room. Ricardo stood there in the hallway for a long moment, looking at the closed door of the guest room. On the other side, 4 people were sleeping, 4 people whose lives had become intertwined with his in an unexpected and irrevocable way. Ricardo Almeida didn't feel alone. Ricardo didn't sleep that night. He stayed in the ground floor library, a glass of whiskey forgotten on the table beside him, looking at the framed photograph of Clara and Miguel. It was his favorite photo taken on the last vacation they had taken together in Santorini. Clara was laughing, her blonde hair flying in the wind. Miguel, only 7 years old, was on his father's shoulders, his arms raised in triumph. They had been so happy. "I don't know what I'm doing," Ricardo whispered to the photograph. "I brought strangers into the house. I'm getting involved in their lives, and the worst part, I don't regret it." Of course, the photograph didn't answer, but in his mind, he could hear Clara's voice as clearly as if she were beside him. "You're doing what's right, love. You're helping people who need it. You're being the man I married." But was he? Or was he just using Helena and her daughters to fill the void that Clara and Miguel had left? The sun rose slowly over Sintra, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Ricardo watched the transformation through the tall windows of the library, the whiskey still untouched, his mind spinning in circles. It was the smell of coffee and fresh bread that finally pulled him from his thoughts. Amelia was already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for the guests. "Good morning, Menino Ricardo," she greeted when he entered. "Or should I say, theoretical good morning, considering you didn't sleep at all." "I'm fine." "You're exhausted," she corrected, pouring him a cup of strong coffee. "But I understand. It's a lot to process. Do you think I did the right thing? Bringing them here?" Amelia stopped what she was doing and looked at him with that expression that always made him feel like a 10-year-old boy again. "I think you did the only thing you could do, the human thing. And I think that perhaps this is as important for you as it is for them." Single quotes before Ricardo could respond. They heard light footsteps on the stairs. Sophia appeared in the kitchen doorway, still dressed in the enormous nightshirt, her dark hair disheveled, but her eyes wide awake and alert. "Good morning," she said, serious as always. "Good morning, dear," responded Amelia with a smile. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, it's the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in." Sophia looked around the enormous kitchen with evident curiosity. "Our old house didn't have a kitchen this big. Would you like some breakfast?" asked Ricardo. "Amelia makes the best pancakes in Portugal." Sophia's eyes lit up slightly, the first genuinely childlike expression Ricardo had seen from her. "Pancakes really," confirmed Amelia, already taking out ingredients, with maple syrup or honey. "Honey, please." While Amelia cooked, Sophia sat at the kitchen table beside Ricardo. She swung her legs, too short to reach the floor, and observed everything with that intense attention. "Mr. Ricardo," she began, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course. And you could just call me Ricardo." "Okay, Ricardo." She hesitated for a moment. "Why don't you have more children?" After your son died, Amelia dropped a spoon with a clatter. Ricardo felt like he had been punched in the stomach. The question was so direct, so unfiltered, so childlike. Despite all of Sophia's seriousness, "Sophia, dear," began Amelia, worried. "That's not an appropriate question." "It's okay," said Ricardo, his voice hoarse. He looked at Sophia, at those serious eyes that didn't judge, just sought to understand. The honest answer: "Because my wife died with him. I can't have more children with her." "But you could have children with another person," pointed out Sophia logically. "I could, but I don't want to." Ricardo paused, carefully choosing his words. When you love someone very, very deeply, and that person dies, it's hard to imagine loving another person that way again. Sophia thought about this, swinging her legs thoughtfully. "My mother didn't love my father," she said finally. "Or maybe she did in the beginning, before he started hurting her. But I think she can love again." "Different people, maybe," agreed Ricardo. "But they're different situations." Sophia tilted her head. "Both are about losing someone and having to move on." "Seems the same to me." Out of the mouths of babes, thought Ricardo, there was an accidental wisdom in Sophia that was simultaneously disturbing and comforting. Amelia served the pancakes golden and perfect, stacked high with honey dripping down the sides. Sophia attacked them with the appetite of a starving child, the serious conversation momentarily forgotten. Half an hour later, Helena came down with Beatrice in her arms and Leonore on her hip. Beatrice looked better, less feverish, although still clearly sick. Helena, on the other hand, looked exhausted despite the night's sleep. "Good morning," she said timidly. "I hope we didn't get up too late." "There's no such thing as late here," said Amelia firmly. "Sit down. I'll make you breakfast." While Helena and the girls ate, Ricardo observed. There was a tenderness in the way Helena treated her daughters, an obsessive care in making sure they ate enough, that they were comfortable, that they were happy. But there was also a constant tension, as if she expected someone to burst through the door at any moment. She lived in constant fear, Ricardo realized. And she had lived like this for a long time. "Helena," he said after breakfast, "we need to talk about some practical things." He saw her tense immediately. "Nothing bad," he hastened to add, "just clothes, toiletries, those things. The girls will need clothes to wear. I said yesterday that I'll work to, and I said we can discuss that after Beatrice is better," interrupted Ricardo. "For now, just let me get the basics." "Please." Helena looked about to argue, but then looked at her daughter Sophia, still in the enormous nightshirt, Beatrice coughing occasionally. Leonore, with her diaper, clearly needing to be changed, nodded reluctantly. "Okay, but I'll make a list of the bare minimum. Nothing extravagant," Ricardo agreed, though he was already planning to completely ignore that instruction. An hour later, Ricardo, Sophia, and Amelia were in a shopping center in Cascais. Helena had been reluctant to let Sophia go, but the girl had insisted she wanted to help choose clothes for her sisters. Besides, Sophia had argued with that relentless logic. "Mom needs to stay with Beatrice, and Leonore is too small to go out, so it has to be me." In the children's clothing store, Sophia proved surprisingly practical. While Amelia tried to show her pretty dresses, Sophia shook her head. "Beatrice needs practical pants. She likes to climb trees when she's well. And Leonore needs clothes that are easy to change. Mom gets stressed when she has to struggle with complicated buttons." Ricardo watched, fascinated. This 8-year-old child knew her sisters better than many adults knew their own children. But that made sense. She had probably been forced to grow up too quickly to take on responsibilities beyond her age. "And you, Sophia?" he asked. "What do you like to wear?" Sophia shrugged. "Whatever's practical. But there must be something you like. A favorite color, a style." Sophia looked at him with those serious eyes. "Nobody's ever asked me that before." The statement was so casual, so matter of fact, but it cut Ricardo like a blade. What kind of life had this child had, where no one had ever cared about her preferences? "Well, I'm asking now," he said gently, "and I want to know the truth. Not what you think you should say, what you really want." Sophia was silent for a long moment, looking around the store. Finally, her eyes fixed on a navy blue dress with embroidered silver stars. "That one," she said quietly, "but it's too pretty. It's not practical." "What if you didn't always have to be practical?" suggested Ricardo. "What if you could have practical clothes for every day and also something pretty for special occasions?" Sophia looked at him as if he had just suggested something revolutionary. "Can I have both?" "You can have whatever you want." They ended up leaving the store with bags and bags of clothes, practical clothes as Sophia had asked, but also some pretty dresses, comfortable pajamas, warm coats. Ricardo also bought toys, nothing excessive. Just a few books for Sophia, who mentioned loving to read, a soft doll for Beatrice, and a musical stuffed giraffe for Leonore. At the pharmacy next door, they stocked up on medications for Beatrice, hygiene products, and everything Amelia declared essential for caring for 3 small children. "This is too much," said Sophia, as they loaded the bags into the car. Mom is going to be angry. Let me deal with your mother, said Ricardo. You just worried about being a child for a while. Okay. Sophia looked at him, and for the first time, she smiled. It was a small, shy smile, but genuine. Okay? When they returned home, Helena was waiting in the living room. Beatrice was sleeping on the sofa, wrapped in blankets. Leonor was playing on the floor with some pots and wooden spoons that Amelia had given her. Helena stood up when she saw them enter with all the bags. Ricardo, this is too much. You said it was just the basics. This is the basics. Ricardo defended himself. For 3 children, Mom, look. Sophia ran to her with the blue dress. It has stars, and Ricardo says I can wear it on special occasions. Helena looked at the dress, then at Ricardo, then at all the bags. Her hands began to tremble. I can't accept this. It's too much. You've already done too much. Helena, no. Her voice rose, laden with emotion. Don't you understand? I can't owe you so much. I can't be in debt to you. I can't. She stopped abruptly, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears began to roll down her face. Sophia ran to hug her, but Helena pulled back, clearly trying to maintain control. Ricardo signaled to Amelia, who quickly took Sophia and Leonor to another room, leaving them alone. Beatrice continued sleeping on the sofa, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Helena said Ricardo softly, You don't owe me anything. This isn't a debt. It's just help from one person to another, but you don't know anything about me. She exploded. You don't know where I come from, what I did, why I'm running. What if I deserve what? Violence, abuse. Ricardo took a step forward. Nobody deserves that. Helena, whatever happened, whoever's making you feel this way, they're wrong. And it has nothing to do with what you deserve or don't deserve. You don't understand. Helena sank into the chair, her head in her hands. He's going to find us. Rui, he has contacts, friends. He was a police officer. He knows how to find people. Finally, a name. Ricardo sat in the chair across from her. Tell me about Rui. Helena was silent for so long that Ricardo thought she wasn't going to answer. But then, with a low, monotone voice, as if she were reciting facts about someone else's life, she began to speak. I met Rui when I was 22 years old. I was a waitress in a cafe in Porto. He came in every morning for coffee. He was charming, attentive. He said I was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She paused bitterly. I was stupid enough to believe him. Ricardo said nothing, just listened. We got married 6 months later. It was too fast, I know. But at the time it seemed romantic, passionate, and I was an orphan living alone. The idea of having a family, someone who loved me, her voice broke slightly. I got pregnant with Sophia right after the wedding. That's when everything changed. Changed how? He became possessive. He wanted to know where I was every minute, who I talked to, what I wore. He said it was because he loved me, because he cared. I quit my job when Sophia was born. He insisted, said a mother should be at home with the baby, and I agreed. It seemed reasonable. Ricardo knew this pattern. He had read about it, heard about it. Isolation, control, the first steps of abuse. But then it got worse, continued Helena. He started yelling. About small things, burnt dinner, house not clean enough, Sophia crying. And then, one day, she swallowed hard. He slapped me, just once. He cried afterward, apologized 1,000 times, said he'd had a bad day, that he was under stress, that it would never happen again. But it did. It did. Helena closed her eyes again and again, each time with an excuse, each time with promises he would change. And I believed because I wanted to believe. Because I had a daughter, because I had nowhere to go, because a stupid part of me thought maybe it really was my fault. It wasn't. Helena opened her eyes and looked at him. I know that now. Intellectually, I know. But there's a difference between knowing something in your head and believing it in your heart. She took a deep breath. Beatrice was born 2 years after Sophia. I thought maybe a second baby would make him happy, make him stop. But it got worse. And then, 2 years ago, I got pregnant with Leonor. It wasn't planned. When I told him, her voice failed completely. Ricardo waited, giving her time. He beat me so hard, I ended up in the hospital. I told the doctors I had fallen down the stairs. They didn't believe me. I can see that now. But they didn't ask questions. Or maybe Rui had talked to them first. He had friends everywhere, and your daughters. Did he hit them? Not directly, at least not yet. But Sophia saw everything. And she gets so scared when he yells. Helena began to cry in earnest now. Great sobs that shook her whole body. I'm a horrible mother. I let my daughters grow up in that environment. I let them see those things. Ricardo couldn't stay seated. He knelt in front of her, gently taking her hands. Listen to me, Helena. Listen carefully. You're not a horrible mother. You're a survivor. And more than that, you're a warrior. Because finally, you decided to leave. You decided to save your daughters. That's not failure. That's courage. But it took me so long, years. It doesn't matter how long it took. What matters is that you did it. Ricardo squeezed her hands. Now tell me, when did you leave, and how do you know he's looking for you? Helena wiped her eyes and continued, her voice firmer now. I left 2 weeks ago. Rui had a night shift. I waited until he left, packed the minimum I could carry, grabbed the girls, and left. I had been secretly saving money for months, 10 euros here, 20 there, hidden inside books he never read. Where did you go? First to a shelter in Lisbon. I stayed there for a week, but then, she hesitated. My sister Carla called me. She said Rui had gone to her house in Porto, looking. He was furious, threatening. She has 2 small children. She was scared. She told me not to go there, at least for now. So instead of Porto, I decided to go anyway, thinking that maybe, with time, he would calm down. I bought that old car for 500 euros. It barely ran, but it was all I could afford. And then, yesterday, it broke down on the road. She looked at Ricardo, and you appeared. Ricardo was silent for a moment, processing everything she had told him. This Rui, full name, Rui Martins. Why do you ask? Because I'm going to make sure he never gets near you or your daughters again. Helena laughed, but it was a humorless laugh. How? He's a police officer. He has friends throughout the system. I've tried to file complaints before. They disappeared. Literally, disappeared from the system. I also have contacts, said Ricardo calmly. And unlike Rui, my contacts include lawyers, people in the media, and people much higher up the chain of command. If he's stalking you, we're going to stop him. Legally, what if that doesn't work? It will work. But if it doesn't, I have private security. This property has cameras, alarms, and trained people. While you're here, you're safe. Helena looked at him with a mixture of hope and fear. Why? Why are you doing all this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Ricardo thought about the question. It was the same one he had asked himself all night. Because when my family died, I wasn't there. And I've lived with that guilt every day since. But you're here. Your daughters are here. And this time, I can be present. I can make a difference. He paused. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe I'm using your situation to feel better about mine. But even if that's true, the result is the same. You stay safe. And I finally feel like I'm doing something that matters. Helena looked at him for a long moment, and something in her expression changed. The distrust was still there. It was probably too deeply rooted to disappear completely, but there was also something new. Gratitude, perhaps. Or hope. Thank you, she said finally. I can't express how much. But thank you. At that moment, Beatrice woke up on the sofa, coughing. Helena immediately stood up to go to her. The moment of vulnerability passed, the mask of strong mother back in place. Ricardo stayed there kneeling for one more moment, watching her comfort her daughter, and he realized something surprising. For the first time in 3 years, he felt purposeful, not just existing, but living. The days that followed established a strange but comfortable routine at the Sintra mansion. Beatrice gradually improved under the attentive care of Helena and Amelia, the cough becoming less frequent, the fever disappearing. Sophia explored the property with the curiosity of an archaeologist discovering a lost civilization, always with a book in hand. And little Leonore, blessedly unaware of the complexities of the adult world, began to take her first steps in the vast corridors of the mansion. Ricardo found himself working less and less. Meetings he once considered essential were now delegated or rescheduled. He began doing video conferences from his home office, always with one ear attuned to the sounds of life that now filled the house. Sophia's laughter when Amelia told her stories, Leonore's whimpering when she was tired, Beatrice's gradually improving cough. One afternoon, 3 days after their arrival, Ricardo was in his office when he heard a timid knock at the door. "Come in," he called. Sophia peeked through the door, holding a book against her chest. "Am I interrupting?" "Never," said Ricardo, closing his laptop. "What do you have there?" Sophia entered completely, her eyes roaming the office with that characteristic curiosity. It was an impressive room, walls lined with books from floor to ceiling, massive mahogany desk, huge windows overlooking the garden. "Donna, Amelia, said you have many books. Can I see?" "Of course. You can even borrow some, if you want." Sophia's eyes lit up in a way Ricardo hadn't seen before. She walked along the shelves, her fingers reverently passing over the spines of the books. "You have so many," she murmured. "I've never seen so many books together outside a library. Do you like to read?" "I love it. It's my favorite thing." Sophia pulled a book from the shelf, looking at the cover with reverence. "In our old house, I only had 3 books. I read each one dozens of times." Ricardo felt that now familiar pang in his heart. This brilliant, curious child had been deprived of something as simple as enough books to read. Well, here you have hundreds, thousands even, and they're all yours to read. Sophia looked at him, her serious eyes. "Really? Really?" She hugged the book against her chest, and for the second time since Ricardo had met her, she smiled. They spent the next hour with Ricardo showing her his favorite books, recommending stories he thought she would like. Sophia absorbed everything, asking intelligent questions, offering surprisingly mature opinions about themes and characters. "You know," said Ricardo at one point, "you're very smart for your age." Sophia shrugged. "I had to be. Someone had to take care of Beatrice when Mom was." She stopped, clearly thinking better of what she was about to say. "When your mother was what?" Sophia was silent for a moment. "Sometimes he hit her so hard she couldn't get out of bed for days," she said finally, her voice small. "She said she had fallen, but I knew, and on those days, I had to do everything. Cook for Beatrice, change her, make sure she didn't make noise so she wouldn't wake, so she wouldn't make Dad angry." Ricardo felt anger boiling inside him, anger at a man he had never met, but already hated with an intensity that surprised him. No child should have to do that, he said, keeping his voice calm despite the emotion. "I know," responded Sophia, "but I had to. Beatrice needed me. And Mom was so sad she tried to hide it, but I saw it in her eyes. Your mother is very lucky to have you. She's the one who's strong," insisted Sophia. "She got us out of there." "I could never be that brave." "Sophia, listen." Ricardo knelt down to be at eye level with her. "Courage isn't not being afraid. Courage is doing what needs to be done despite the fear. And taking care of your sisters, protecting them, keeping them safe when everything around you was falling apart. That's courage. You're one of the bravest people I know." Sophia looked at him, and for the first time, Ricardo saw tears in her eyes. Not the tears of a child throwing a tantrum, but the tears of someone who had finally been given permission to be vulnerable. "I was so scared," she whispered, "every night. Scared he would kill her, scared he would kill us all, and I had to pretend everything was okay so Beatrice wouldn't be even more scared." Ricardo pulled her into a hug. Sophia resisted for only a second before collapsing against him, finally crying great sobs of relief and fear and accumulated exhaustion from years of having to be too strong, too soon. "It's over," murmured Ricardo, stroking her hair. "You're safe now, all of you, and I won't let anything happen to you. I promise." It was an enormous promise, perhaps impossible to keep, but in that moment, with that brave child in his arms, Ricardo made that promise with all the conviction of his soul. While Helena and the girls settled into the house's routine, Ricardo took action behind the scenes. First, he contacted his lawyer, Dr. Fernando Costa, one of the best family law attorneys in the country. "Fernando, I need you on a delicate case," said Ricardo during a discreet meeting in the mansion's office. Dr. Fernando Costa was a man in his 50s, well-cut gray hair, sharp eyes that missed no detail. He had represented Ricardo in the divorces of several of his partners, always with discretion and effectiveness. "When you say delicate, Ricardo, do you mean legally complicated or emotionally complicated?" "Both." Ricardo explained the situation. Helena, the 3 girls, the abusive husband, who was a police officer. Fernando listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes in a leather notebook. "First, the good news," said Fernando when Ricardo finished. "We have a solid basis for a restraining order and potentially for criminal charges of domestic violence. The fact that he's a police officer complicates things, but it's not impossible. And the bad news is that this will take time. The legal system doesn't move as fast as we'd like. And if this Rui Martins really has contacts in the police, he can create obstacles. So what do you suggest?" Fernando leaned back in his chair, fingers interlaced. "We need to build a solid case. Medical documentation from all the times Helena went to the hospital. Testimonies from neighbors, if there are any photographs of injuries, if they exist. And we need Helena to file a formal complaint. She's afraid. I understand. But without a formal complaint, our hands are tied legally." Fernando paused. "There's another thing. Does this man know where she is?" "No, at least not yet." "Then I suggest we keep it that way. While he doesn't know where Helena and the children are, he can't get to them. This property is secure. Very. Cameras, alarms, security. Good. Keep them here while we build the case." Fernando closed his notebook. "And Ricardo, I need to ask. What exactly is your relationship with this woman?" The question caught Ricardo off guard. I don't have a relationship with her. I'm just helping." Fernando looked at him with the kind of look that suggested he didn't completely believe that, but didn't press. "All right, but know that this can get complicated. Emotionally, I mean, mixing humanitarian aid with personal involvement is complicated. I understand, but did he really?" Ricardo wasn't sure. What did he feel for Helena and her daughters? Compassion, certainly. Responsibility. But was there more? It was possible that, after 3 years of emotional numbness, he was beginning to feel something deeper. He shook his head, pushing those thoughts away. Now wasn't the time for emotional analysis. Now was the time for action. Besides the lawyer, Ricardo also hired a private investigator. Mario Silva was a former police officer who had opened his own agency after becoming disillusioned with corruption within the force. Ricardo had used him before for background investigations of potential business partners. "I need you to find out everything about this man," said Ricardo, passing him a dossier with all the information Helena had provided about Rui Martins, where he works, who his friends are, what kind of record he has, everything. Mario leafed through the dossier, his face impassive. "An abusive cop. Lovely." He looked at Ricardo. "This is personal. Very. Then you want me to be discreet. I can't ask direct questions without raising alarms. Do what you have to do, but I need information. And I need it quickly." Mario nodded. "I'll see what I can find out." 3 days later, Mario returned with a report that made Ricardo's blood boil. Rui Martins had an extensive history, unofficial of course, because it had been carefully hidden, of violent behavior. 3 domestic violence complaints filed, witnesses who refused to speak, a clear pattern of abuse, but there was more. Rui had been suspended once for excessive use of force during an arrest. He had connections to corrupt elements within the police. And, more disturbingly, he had been actively looking for Helena, asking questions in shelters, showing photographs, using his contacts to try to locate her. "This man is dangerous," concluded Mario, "and he's obsessed with finding her. He won't give up easily. Then we make sure he never finds her," said Ricardo, with determination. It was in the second week of Helena's stay that the threat became real. Ricardo was in the office when the phone rang. It was Mario, the investigator. "We have a problem," said Mario, without preamble. "Rui Martins has been asking questions about you." Ricardo felt his blood freeze. "About me, how?" "Oh, apparently someone saw your Mercedes that night on the road. I don't know who, but somehow the information got to Martins. He's been investigating rich men who drive silver Mercedes S-classes. It's a short list in Portugal." "Ricardo, shit. He's not sure it was you yet, but he's tightening the noose. He was at your hotel in Lisbon yesterday, asking questions." Ricardo closed his eyes, thinking quickly. "Did he talk to anyone?" He tried. "Your team had the good sense not to give information." "But Ricardo, this man isn't going to give up, and eventually he'll make the connection." After hanging up, Ricardo sat in silence for a long moment. He had to tell Helena. She deserved to know that the danger was closer than they thought. He found her in the garden, watching Sophia and Beatrice play. Leona was in Amelia's lap, falling asleep in the sun. It was such a peaceful scene that Ricardo almost didn't want to ruin it, but he had to. "Helena, we need to talk." She turned, and something in his expression must have told her it was bad news. She immediately tensed. "What happened?" Ricardo told her, watching the color drain from her face with each word. "He knows," she whispered when he finished. "He knows I'm with you. He suspects. He doesn't know for sure. But, yes, he's getting closer." Helena stood up abruptly, her hands trembling. "We have to leave now." I can't put you in danger. You and Dona Amelia. If he finds out, if he comes here." Helena breathed. Ricardo gently took her arms. "You're not going anywhere. This house is safe. I have security, cameras, out." The approaching storm finally broke on a Thursday afternoon. 2 weeks and 3 days after Ricardo had found Helena on the road. Ricardo was in a video conference when the silent alarm went off on his phone. Immediately, he opened the security app. The cameras showed a man approaching the main gates. He was tall, strong build, with a visible scar on his left eyebrow. "Rui Martins." "I have to disconnect," said Ricardo abruptly to the astonished executives in the video conference, closing the laptop without waiting for a response. He pressed the intercom button that connected to all rooms in the house. "Amelia, code red, take Helena and the girls to the safe room." Now, Amelia's response was immediate and calm. They had practiced this scenario several times. "I'm going, Menino Ricardo." Ricardo watched the monitors. Rui was now at the gates, trying to see through the bars. He pressed the gate intercom. "Can I help you?" Rui's voice came crackling through the system. "I'm looking for my wife, Helena Martins. I know she's there. I'm afraid you're mistaken. This is private property, and there's no one by that name here. Don't lie to me. I know your Mercedes was seen on that road. I know you picked up my family. Now let me in, or I'll have to find another way in." Ricardo kept his voice calm and firm. "Mr. Martins, I suggest you leave. This property has armed security and cameras recording your every move. If you try to enter by force, I'll be obliged to call the authorities." "I am the authorities, you rich idiot. I'm a police officer. A police officer with multiple domestic violence complaints on his record," responded Ricardo calmly. "Yes, I investigated you, Mr. Martins. I know exactly who you are. And I assure you that if you try anything here, it won't be your corrupt friends in the police who will respond to the call. I have contacts that go much higher up the chain of command." There was a tense silence. Then Rui stepped back a few paces, but didn't leave. "She's my wife. I have a legal obligation to see her. She's an autonomous human being with a right to safety. And at this moment, she's chosen not to see you." Respect that choice. When I get my hands on her, are you making threats while being recorded? Ricardo almost smiled. Please continue. You're providing excellent evidence for the domestic violence case we're building. That stopped Rui. Ricardo could see him through the cameras, face contorted with rage, but clearly trying to calculate his options. This isn't over, said Rui finally, his voice low and threatening. She's mine. My daughters are mine, and I'll get them back, no matter what it costs. You're wrong on 3 important points, responded Ricardo. First, Helena isn't your property. Second, your daughters deserve to grow up without fear. And third, if you try to approach this property again, I won't hesitate to use all resources at my disposal to stop you, legally and otherwise. Are you threatening a law enforcement officer? I'm protecting 4 innocent people from a violent man. If that offends you, that's your problem. Rui stood there for a few more minutes, clearly debating between forcing entry and backing down. Finally, he spat on the ground, a childish gesture of defiance, and returned to his car. But before getting in, he turned and looked directly at one of the cameras, as if he knew exactly where it was, and he smiled. It was a cold smile, without humor, full of unspoken promises. See you soon, Ricardo Almeida, he said, deliberately using Ricardo's full name. You and my dear wife. The car sped off, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Ricardo sat for a long moment, his heart beating rapidly. Then he picked up the phone and made 3 quick calls, to the private investigator, to the lawyer, and to the private security company he had on retainer. This was far from over. In fact, it had perhaps just begun. When he went down to the safe room in the basement, a reinforced room that Ricardo's father had built during the years of political instability in Portugal, he found Helena and the 3 girls. Amelia was trying to keep the girls distracted with stories, but Sophia knew, you could see it in her eyes. Beatrice was scared, clinging to her mother, and Leonor, sensing the tension, was whimpering softly. Helena stood up when Ricardo entered, her face pale. Was it him? It was. What did he say? What did he do? Ricardo told her, leaving out only the most explicit threats so as not to scare her further. But he's gone now, he concluded, and he won't come back so easily. He'll come back, said Helena with certainty. I know him. He never gives up. Never. Then we'll have to make sure that next time, when he comes, we'll be more than prepared. Sophia disentangled herself from Amelia's arms and came to Ricardo. Was that my father? She asked with that characteristic directness. Ricardo knelt down to be at eye level with her. It was. And you protected us? I protected you. Sophia threw her arms around his neck in a fierce hug. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not giving us back to him. Ricardo felt a lump in his throat. He hugged the brave girl, making a silent promise to himself. No matter what it cost, he would keep these people safe. After Rui's appearance, Ricardo transformed the property into a fortress. He hired additional guards who patrolled the grounds 24/7. He installed motion sensors throughout the property. He even brought in 2 trained guard dogs, German shepherds named Thor and Freya, who were simultaneously intimidating and surprisingly gentle with the children. Beatrice immediately fell in love with Thor, an imposing male who followed her everywhere like a furry bodyguard. Sophia preferred Freya, an intelligent female who seemed to instinctively understand when the girl needed comfort. Are they ours? Asked Beatrice one afternoon, hugging Thor. Their family, responded Ricardo, carefully avoiding the question about ownership. He didn't want to promise anything he couldn't keep, and it still wasn't clear how long Helena and the girls would stay. But that uncertainty was beginning to weigh on him. Initially, the plan was simple. Keep Helena and the girls safe until they could move to Porto. But now, with Rui actively searching, Porto wasn't safe. And the longer he spent with them, the more Ricardo realized he didn't want them to leave. It was a disturbing revelation. For 3 years he had convinced himself he was better off alone, that emotional involvement only brought pain. But now, with the house full of life, of children's laughter, of conversations at the dinner table, of Leonor learning to walk, and Beatrice improving and Sophia devouring books, Ricardo realized how much he had just been surviving instead of living. One night, after the girls had gone to bed, Ricardo and Helena were in the living room. It had become a ritual of theirs, an hour or 2 of quiet conversation after the chaos of the day. I need to talk to you about something, said Helena hesitantly. Ricardo put down the book he was pretending to read. Of course, it's about staying here. It's been 3 weeks. Beatrice is completely recovered, and I'm starting to feel like we're abusing your hospitality. You're not, said Ricardo immediately. Not at all, but we can't stay forever, Ricardo. I need to build a life for my daughters. A job, our own home. I can't be dependent on your charity indefinitely. Ricardo chose his words carefully. What if it wasn't charity? Helena looked at him, confused. What do you mean? I mean, what if there was a way to stay that wasn't charity, where you contributed, worked, but still maintained the security you have here? Are you offering me a job? I'm offering a solution. Ricardo leaned forward. Look, I have a hotel chain. Several of them are always looking for good management. With your background in hospitality, I was a waitress in a cafe, not a hotel manager, but you're smart. You work well under pressure, and you have a natural instinct for taking care of people. That's half of hotel management. The rest can be learned. Single quotes. What if I offered you a position at the Cascade Hotel with full training? Fair salary. Housing. The hotel has management apartments. It's normal protocol. It would be close enough to come here whenever you wanted, but it would be yours. Independent. Helena looked at him for a long moment. Why? Why are you doing this? It was the question she asked constantly, and each time she asked it, Ricardo had a different answer. But this time he decided to be completely honest, because in the last 3 weeks, this house has felt like a home for the first time in 3 years. Because seeing your daughters grow and be happy fills a void inside me that I thought would never be filled. And because, he hesitated, then continued, because I've started to care about all of you, more than I should, probably. But I can't help it. Helena was speechless. Tears began to roll down her face. Ricardo, you don't need to answer now, he said quickly. Think about it. Talk to the girls. And then, when you're ready, tell me what you want to do. Helena wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You know what's ironic? I spent so long in a marriage where I had no choices, where every decision was made for me, where I had no voice. And now you're giving me all these choices, all these options, and it's almost scary. Scary how? Because what if I make the wrong choice? What if I take this opportunity and fail? What if, Helena, interrupted Ricardo gently, there's no wrong choice here. If you accept the job and it doesn't work out, we'll find another solution. If you decide you want to go to Porto anyway, I'll help you make that move safely. If you decide you want something completely different, I'll support that too. There are no traps here, no obligations, just possibilities. Helena looked at him through her tears, and something in her expression changed. It was a mixture of gratitude, fear, and something more. Something neither of them was ready to name. I'll think about it, she said finally. And thank you for everything. Helena took 3 days to think about Ricardo's offer. 3 days during which she was visibly distracted, lost in her own thoughts. Sophia, always observant, noticed. Mom is worried, she said to Ricardo one afternoon while they played chess in the library. Sophia had proven surprisingly good at the game, with a natural strategic instinct. I think she's just making an important decision, responded Ricardo, moving his knight. About staying here. Ricardo looked at her, surprised. How do you know about that? Sophia shrugged, moving her bishop to threaten Ricardo's queen. I hear things, and besides, I'm not stupid. I know we can't stay here forever for free. And I know you offered Mom a job. Do you have opinions about that? Sophia was silent for a moment, studying the board. I like it here, she said finally. For the first time in my life, I feel safe. Beatrice is happy. Even Mom smiles now. Sometimes, I don't want to leave, even if that means not going to Porto to live near your aunt. Sophia looked at him with those serious eyes. Aunt Carla is a good person, but we don't really know her. We see her once a year. Maybe you. You've been here every day. You've protected us. You care about us. That seems more like family than blood. They were profound words for an 8-year-old child. But then, Sophia had been forced to grow up too fast to take on responsibilities beyond her age. And you, Sophia? Asked Ricardo. What do you like to wear? Sophia looked at him, and, in those serious eyes, Ricardo saw something that broke his heart. A child who had never been asked about her own preferences. Checkmate, she said suddenly, and Ricardo realized that, while they were talking, she had executed a brilliant sequence of moves that trapped his king. Well played, he said, admiring. Did you let me win? No. You won fairly. You're better than me. Sophia smiled, one of those rare smiles that lit up her whole face. Can I tell you something? Of course, if Mom decides to accept your job, and if we stay close, I'd like to continue coming here to play chess, and read books, and just be here. Ricardo felt that now familiar lump in his throat. I'd like that very much too. Sophia, that night, after dinner, Helena asked to speak with Ricardo privately. They went to the library, the place where so many important conversations had happened in recent weeks. I've made a decision, began Helena, her hands nervously intertwined. Ricardo waited, his heart beating faster than it should. I want to accept the job, but with conditions. What conditions? First, it has to be fair salary. I don't want favors because of our situation. I want to earn my place. I agree. Second, I need proper training. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I don't want to be a burden or a liability. I'll provide the best training available. And third, Helena hesitated. I need to maintain some distance, not physically, necessarily, but emotionally. For my own good, I need to learn to be independent, to trust myself, before I can. Before anything else, Ricardo understood what she wasn't saying. That there was something growing between them, something both felt, but neither was ready to name or explore. I understand, he said, and I respect that completely. Helena let out a sigh of relief. So we're agreed. We're agreed. Ricardo extended his hand. Welcome to the Almeida Hotel Group, Helena. She shook his hand, and both ignored the fact that they held it for a moment longer than necessary. The following month was one of transformation and growth. Helena began an intensive hotel management course, attending classes during the day while Amelia took care of the girls. She proved to be a dedicated student, absorbing knowledge with the same determination she had used to survive years of abuse. Ricardo, in turn, found himself spending "I won't leave you here," said the millionaire to the woman he found on the road with 3 girls. The restaurant was elegant but not ostentatious, exactly the kind of place Ricardo knew Helena would appreciate. They were now on their 20th date if anyone was counting, which Ricardo embarrassedly admitted he was. Their relationship had been exactly as promised. Slow, deliberate, respectful, months of dinners and conversations before the first kiss. More months of learning to trust, to be vulnerable, to build something new without the ghosts of the past constantly haunting them. It hadn't always been easy. Helena had moments of panic, flashbacks where Ricardo's touch scared her for no logical reason. Ricardo had his own demon survivor's guilt, fear of losing the people he loved again, but they worked through it, together, with therapists, with patience, with love. And now, a year and a half after that night on the road, Ricardo was about to take a step that terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. "Helena," he began when dinner was ending. "There's something I want to ask you." She tilted her head, curious. "Sounds serious." "It is." Ricardo took a deep breath. "These last months with you and the girls have been the happiest of my life since I lost Clara and Miguel. I'm not trying to replace them, no one can. But you've created something new, something different but equally precious." "Ricardo, let me finish," he said gently. "I know we're not a traditional family. I know we have our baggage, our complications. But when I think about the future, I can only see you. You and Sofia Beatriz Leonor. You're my family now." Ricardo knelt down, taking a small box from his pocket. Helena put her hands over her mouth, tears already beginning to form. "Helena, I know this might be scary. I know marriage has difficult connotations for you. But I promise you, I'll be different. I'll be the partner you deserve. The kind of man your daughters can look at and know this is what love should be like." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ringer, modest diamonds surrounded by blue sapphires. "Will you marry me?" Helena was crying openly now, but smiling simultaneously. "Ricardo, this is if you're not ready. That's okay. We can wait." "We can." "Yes," she interrupted. "Yes, I want to marry you." The entire restaurant erupted in applause. Apparently they had been watching. Ricardo stood up and kissed Helena, both laughing and crying simultaneously. When they returned to the mansion that night, the girls were waiting with Amelia. Sofia immediately saw the ring on Helena's hand. "You said yes?" she asked, hopeful. "I said yes," confirmed Helena. Helena, breathe." Ricardo gently took her arms. "You're not going anywhere. This house is safe. I have security cameras, alarms. If he shows up, we'll be ready. You don't understand. He's a police officer. He can." "I also have resources," interrupted Ricardo, "and unlike him, mine are legal. I already have lawyers working on your case. The investigator is compiling evidence, and if he dares to come here, he'll find more than he bargained for." Helena looked at her daughters, playing innocently in the garden. Sofia was showing something to Beatrice, both laughing. It was such a pure sound, so full of joy, that it broke Helena's heart. "They're finally happy," she said, her voice broken. "For the first time in years, I see them really smiling. And if he finds us, if he takes this from them, he won't," promised Ricardo. "I give you my word, Helena, I won't let him hurt you, any of you." That night, Ricardo reinforced the property's security. He hired additional guards, installed extra cameras, and made sure all entrances were monitored 24/7. If Rui Martins tried to approach, they would know. But the tension in the house was palpable. Helena barely slept, startling at every sound. Sofia, always observant, sensed her mother's anxiety and became quieter, more vigilant. Even Beatrice, normally full of energy, was more clingy, as if sensing something was wrong. Only Leonor remained oblivious, exploring the world with the happy ignorance of a small child. One night, Ricardo found Helena in the library, unable to sleep. She was sitting by the window, looking out into the darkness. "Can't sleep?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "I'm always waiting. Waiting to see the lights of a car. Waiting to hear his voice." "Waiting," Ricardo sat beside her. "Can I ask you a personal question?" "Depends on the question. Why'd you stay so long with him, I mean?" "I'm not judging," he hastened to add. "I'm just trying to understand." Helena was silent for so long that Ricardo thought he had crossed a line. But then she began to speak. "Because in the beginning, it wasn't always bad. There were good moments. Moments when he was the man I married. Sweet, attentive. And I kept thinking that if I just tried harder, if I were a better wife, those good moments would come back permanently, but they didn't. No, they became rarer and rarer, and the bad moments got worse. But by then, I had no self-esteem left. He had destroyed it, piece by piece, over the years. He made me feel like I was worthless, that nobody else would want me, that I was lucky he stayed with me, Helena. And then there was the fear, she continued. Fear of what he would do if I tried to leave, fear I couldn't survive alone with 3 children, fear that somehow he would take the girls from me. He was a police officer. He had power. I was nobody. You're not nobody, said Ricardo firmly. You're a strong and brave woman who finally said enough. That's not nothing. That's everything. Helena turned to look at him, tears in her eyes. How do you do that? Do what? Make me feel strong, valid, when I spent so long feeling weak and worthless. Ricardo didn't have an answer for that. Instead, he did something that surprised him as much as her. He took Helena's hand and held it gently. Because that's what I see when I look at you, he said simply. I don't see the victim he tried to create. I see the survivor who chose to save her daughters, no matter the cost. They sat there in comfortable silence, hands intertwined, looking out into the night. And for the first time since she arrived, Helena felt something besides fear. She felt hope. Sophia, Beatrice, and even little Leonore ran to hug them. Thor and Freya, sensing the excitement, barked and jumped around the group. So we're going to live here forever? Asked Beatrice. If you want, said Ricardo. This is your home. It always has been. Amelia, watching from afar, wiped tears from her eyes. After 3 years of seeing Ricardo exist as an empty shell of the man she had raised, seeing him now alive, happy, part of her family, was more than she had ever dared to hope. The wedding was 6 months later, in a small but beautiful ceremony in the mansion's gardens. Helena had resisted anything big or ostentatious. She still wasn't completely comfortable with Ricardo's world of wealth, so it was intimate, just close friends, some of Helena's colleagues from the hotel, Dr. Fernando, the lawyer who had become a friend, and Helena's sister Carla with her family. Sophia was the maid of honor, taking her responsibilities with the seriousness of a general preparing for battle. Beatrice was the flower girl, dancing down the aisle instead of just walking. And Leonore, now 3 years old, tried to follow, but got distracted by the floor of petals, stopping to pick them up instead of scattering them. But the most emotional moment was when Ricardo and Helena exchanged their vows. They had written their own, and when it was Ricardo's turn, there were tears in his eyes. Helena, when I found you on that road, I said I won't leave you here. It was supposed to be about that night, that moment, but it became a promise for life. I won't leave you ever, not in the good times or the hard ones, not when the past haunts you, not when the future scares us. I'll always be here, by your side, facing whatever comes. Helena's vows were equally moving. Ricardo, you saved me and my daughters. But you did more than that. You reminded me what it's like to live without fear, what it's like to wake up in the morning and feel hope instead of dread, what it's like to look at the future and see possibility instead of just survival. You gave us more than safety. You gave us a family, a home, a love that heals instead of hurts, and I'll spend the rest of my life showing you how much that means. When the officiant finally said you may kiss the bride, the kiss was tender but full of promise. And when they turned to the guests, Sophia, Beatrice, and Leonore ran to hug them, creating a family embrace that was simultaneously chaotic and perfect. At the reception, Ricardo made a speech that left few eyes dry. For 3 years after losing my family, I lived in a kind of purgatory. I was technically alive, but not really. And then, on a stormy night, I found 4 people on the road. And without knowing it, those 4 people saved me as much as I saved them. They taught me that family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses to love, even when it's difficult. He looked at Sophia, who was trying to maintain composure, but was clearly emotional. Sophia, you taught me about courage, about being strong even when everything around you is falling apart, and about the importance of asking the hard questions. He turned to Beatrice. Beatrice, you taught me about joy, about finding beauty and laughter even after trauma, about how to dance through the pain. He looked at Leonore, who was in Amelia's lap. And Leonore, even so small, you taught me about second chances, about starting over, about how every day is a blank page. Finally, he turned back to Helena. And you, Helena, taught me the most important thing of all. You taught me that it's never too late to feel again, to love again, to be a family again. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for letting me be part of your lives. Thank you for reminding me that life is worth living. Life had settled into a happy routine. Helena was now senior manager of the hotel chain, proving herself a natural leader. Ricardo had gradually delegated more of his work, preferring to spend time with the family. Sophia, now 12 years old, was everything Ricardo and Helena hoped she would be. Brilliant. compassionate, still serious, but with a dry sense of humor that emerged at the most unexpected moments. She had won a scholarship to an elite school, but chose to stay at the local school where she had friends and felt comfortable. Beatrice, at 10 years old, was pursuing her dream of professional dance. She had been accepted into a prestigious ballet academy and practiced religiously. But more importantly, she was happy. Truly, completely happy. Leonore, now 5 years old and about to start school, was a whirlwind of energy and curiosity. She had no memories of her biological father, only knew Ricardo as dad, and that innocence was simultaneously a blessing and a responsibility that Ricardo took very seriously. One afternoon, he found Leonore in the garden, sitting alone under her favorite tree. It was rare to see her still. "Is everything okay, little one?" he asked, sitting beside her. Leonore looked at him with those big, serious Ricardo, in turn, found himself spending more time at home, working remotely whenever possible to be available for the girls. It became routine for Sophia to appear in his office after school. Yes, he had enrolled all 3 girls in the local school, with books and uniforms paid discreetly through a scholarship he had invented. Sophia was thriving at school, consistently at the top of her class. She had joined the chess club and had already won several tournaments. Teachers spoke of her with admiration, not just for her intelligence but for her maturity and empathy. Beatrice had discovered a passion for dance. Ricardo had enrolled her in a ballet studio, another gift that Helena had initially resisted before, accepting when she saw how much it meant to Beatrice. The girl, who used to live in fear, now moved with grace and joy, her body finally free to express beauty instead of just avoiding pain. And Leonore, now 2.5 years old, was a force of nature. She talked constantly, ran everywhere, and had developed a particular obsession with Thor and Freya. Her laugh, loud, uninhibited, pure, filled the mansion's corridors with a joy that had been absent for too long. On a Saturday afternoon, the whole family was gathered at the mansion. Amelia had prepared an elaborate lunch. It was the first anniversary of the day Ricardo had found Helena on the road, though no one called it that directly. After lunch, while the girls played in the garden with the dogs, Ricardo and Helena found themselves alone on the terrace, coffee in hand, watching. "It's been a year," said Helena softly. "It has," agreed Ricardo. "It feels like a lifetime ago. Like there were different people on that road. We were different people. Both of us." Helena turned to look at him. "Ricardo, I need to tell you something." The tone of her voice made Ricardo's heart race. "I'm listening. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About what we are. What we could be. And my therapist said something that stuck with me." "What was it?" "She said there's a difference between being ready for a relationship and being ready for this relationship. With this person," Helena took Ricardo's hand, "and I realized that, although I may not be completely healed, maybe I never will. I'm ready for this. For you, if you still want it." Ricardo looked at her, at this extraordinary woman who had gone through hell and come out the other side stronger. "Helena, I've been waiting for you to be ready. But you need to know there's no pressure, no expectations. If we decide to try this, it will be at your pace, always. I know. That's why I want to try, because you never pressured me, never demanded, just waited, and were present." Ricardo gently pulled her into a hug. It wasn't their first hug, they had shared many over the months, but this one was different. This one had promise, had possibility. "So we go slow," he suggested. "Very slow," agreed Helena. "Maybe start with the dinner, just the 2 of us. I'd like that very much." At that moment, Sophia appeared on the terrace, with Beatrice and Leonore behind her. "Are you dating?" asked Sophia, with that characteristic directness. Helena blushed. Ricardo laughed. "Maybe," he admitted. "How do you feel about that?" Sophia exchanged glances with Beatrice. Some silent communication passed between the sisters. Then Sophia shrugged. "I think it's okay. Ricardo is cool, and he makes Mom smile." "That's good. And besides," added Beatrice, "if you get married, does that mean we can live here forever, with Thor and Freya?" Helena and Ricardo exchanged glances. "One step at a time," said Helena, but she was smiling. It was one night, a few months after the conversation with Leonore, that Sophia knocked on Ricardo's office door. She was now 12 years old, almost a teenager, but her serious eyes were the same as always. "Can I come in?" "Always," said Ricardo, closing his laptop. Sophia entered and sat in the chair across from the desk, the same place where so many important conversations had happened. "Over the years, I need to talk about something difficult." Ricardo felt a tightness in his chest. Whatever it was serious. "I'm listening. I've been thinking a lot about my father, the biological one, Rui." Ricardo nodded, waiting. "Do you remember years ago when I said he was dead to us?" Sophia twisted her hands nervously. "Well, he's not. He's in prison. And part of me wonders how he is. If he's changed, if he regrets. That's completely normal." "Sophia, is it? Because I feel horrible about it. After everything he did, after he hurt us so much, why does part of me still care?" Ricardo stood up and came to sit beside her. "Because you're human. And because, despite everything, he was your father. That connection, however toxic it was, existed. And it's normal to question, to wonder, what if? My therapist says that maybe one day, when I'm older, I might want to see him, not to forgive him, but to close the circle, she called it. And how do you feel about that? Sophia was silent for a long moment, scared, and also curious. I want to know if he became better, if he learned anything. But more than that, her voice broke slightly. I want to show him that he didn't destroy us, that we're strong and happy despite him, not because of him. Ricardo pulled her into a hug. Whatever decision you make, whenever you make it, I'll support you. But there's no rush, Sophia. You have years to decide. Thank you, she whispered. Then, pulling back slightly, she looked him in the eyes. You know, for a long time I was afraid of men. All of them. I thought they were all like Rui. But you showed me that men can be kind. They can protect without controlling. They can love without hurting. Sophia, no, let me finish. I want you to know I'll never call you dad because that seems to diminish what you are. You're more than a father. You're the person who saved us when no one else did. You're the person who gave hope back to my mother. You're the hero of our story, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be as brave as you were that night when you stopped on the road. Ricardo couldn't respond. He just held her, letting the tears finally fall, tears of gratitude, of love, of a healing that had taken years but finally seemed complete. Rui Martins was released after serving 4 years of his 5-year sentence. Good behavior, the report said. Ricardo received notification through the lawyer, as was protocol with restraining orders. Helena was visibly shaken by the news. For years, Rui's presence in prison had been a safety net, a certainty. Now, he was free, somewhere, living his life. He can approach you, reminded Ricardo. The restraining order is permanent, and if he tries, he goes right back to prison. I know, said Helena, but knowing that intellectually and feeling safe emotionally are different things, Helena's anxiety infected the girls. Beatrice began having nightmares again. Leonor, although not fully understanding, sensed the tension. And Sophia became strangely calm, which worried Ricardo more than anything else. It was 2 weeks after Rui's release that Sophia made the request that shocked everyone. I want to see him, she announced at a family dinner. Helena dropped her fork. What? Rui, my biological father. I want to see him. Sophia, no, said Helena immediately. You're not going near that man. Mom, I'm almost 13 years old. I'm not a child, and I need this. I need to look at him and realize that I'm not defined by him, that we've overcome what he did to us. Ricardo and Helena exchanged glances. Technically, with the restraining order, any meeting would have to be supervised and approved by a court. But more than that, would it be traumatic? Let's talk to your therapist, suggested Ricardo. And if she thinks you're ready, we can explore the possibility. But only if you're absolutely certain. The therapist, after several intensive sessions with Sophia, concluded that the girl had worked through enough of her trauma that a controlled meeting could be beneficial, as long as it was completely voluntary, supervised, and with the option to stop at any time. The meeting was scheduled for 3 weeks later at a family mediation center. Only Sophia would go. Beatrice was too young, and Leonor didn't really know him. Helena categorically refused to be present, but Ricardo would be there, on the other side of a glass, ready to intervene if necessary. The mediation room was clinically neutral, beige walls, functional furniture, nothing that could trigger strong emotions. Sophia entered with a confidence that belied her age, Ricardo and the therapist right behind her. Rui Martins was already there. 4 years in prison had changed him. He was thinner, gray hair at the temples. His eyes were different, less angry, more empty. He stood up when Sophia entered, but the mediation official indicated he should sit down. You have 15 minutes, she said to Sophia. You can stop at any time. He can't touch you or approach you. Understood, Sophia nodded, sitting in the chair across from her biological father. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. It was Rui who spoke first. Sophia, you've grown so much. I'm 12 years old. That tends to happen in 4 years. Her voice was steady, without traces of the frightened child. Rui remembered. I wanted to apologize for everything, for what I did to your mother, for what I did to all of you. Are you sorry or just apologizing because you're alone? The question caught Rui off guard. Both, I suppose. Prison gives you a lot of time to think, to realize what you lost. You didn't lose us, corrected Sophia. You were never ours to lose. Fathers don't hurt. They don't control. They don't terrorize. You were just someone who lived in our house and made us miserable, Sophia. I'm not finished, she interrupted. I came here not because I owe you something or because I want a relationship with you. I came because I need you to know something important. Rui waited, visibly contrite. We survived you. More than that, we thrived. Mom is now a hotel manager. Strong, independent, happy. Beatrice is a ballerina, graceful and free. And Leonore, who doesn't even remember you, is full of joy and knows no fear. And me, I'm top of my class, chess champion, and I'm going to have a bright future. Tears began to roll down Rui's face. And all of this happened because a good man stopped on a rainy road and said, "I won't leave you here." That man gave us everything you never could. Safety, love, respect. He's everything you weren't. I'm so sorry. If I could go back, but you can't, said Sophia, standing up. And I don't need your remorse. I didn't come here for forgiveness, yours or mine. I came to show you that you failed. You tried to break us, and you couldn't. We're stronger because we survived you. She turned to leave, but then stopped and looked back. I hope you find peace, Rui. Not for you, but because hatred is too heavy to carry. But that peace will have to come without us, because you're our past. And finally, we're living our future. Sophia left the room with her head held high. Rui sat there, sobbing silently, confronted with the complete devastation he had caused, and the fact that he could never repair it. In the corridor, Sophia collapsed into Ricardo's arms, all the bravado disappearing as she finally let out years of pain, anger, and yes, even some regret for the family that could have been, but never was. You did so well, murmured Ricardo, holding her so well. I'm so proud of you. I needed him to know, sobbed Sophia. I needed him to know he didn't win. And now he knows. And Sophia, you never have to see him again if you don't want to. This chapter is closed. Life had a way of continuing. Rui eventually disappeared to some corner of Portugal, living a quiet and lonely life. He never attempted contact again. Perhaps the meeting with Sophia had finally shown the complete destruction of what he had done. Sophia was now 17 years old, about to finish high school at the top of her class. She had been accepted into the best universities in the country and some international ones. But surprisingly, she chose the University of Lisbon because family matters, she explained, and I don't want to be far away. Beatrice, at 15, had become an extraordinary ballerina. She had been accepted to the Royal Ballet School in London, a rare honor. But the real triumph wasn't the talent, it was the confidence with which she moved through the world, without fear, without hesitation. Leonore, at 10 years old, was the force of nature she had always promised to be. Captain of the school's soccer team, student council president, and she still found time to help Thor and Freya, now elderly veterans, with their walks. Helena had become regional director of the entire hotel chain, overseeing 15 hotels. She was in demand for conferences, interviews, and had become a public advocate for domestic violence survivors. The frightened woman on the road was now a powerful voice for the voiceless, and Ricardo had finally found balance. He still worked, still had business ambitions, but they no longer defined who he was. He was a father, a husband, and finally, he was at peace with his own losses. On a Sunday afternoon, 5 years and 3 months after the wedding, the whole family was gathered in the garden. It was supposed to be just another family lunch, but Ricardo had asked for everyone's attention. I have an announcement, he said when everyone was seated. Are you sick? Asked Sophia immediately, always jumping to the worst conclusions. No, Ricardo hastened to reassure. Nothing bad. But it's big. He took Helena's hand, who smiled, clearly already knowing what was coming. I've decided to do something I should have done a long time ago. I'm drastically reducing my working hours, selling some of the commercial properties, and I'm going to create a foundation. What kind of foundation? Asked Beatrice. A foundation to help women and children escape domestic violence situations. Safe shelters, legal support, professional training, everything. I'm going to call it the Fresh Start Foundation. There was silence for a moment. Then Sophia said softly, because of us, because of you, and because of all the other women and children who are on that road now, waiting for someone to stop. I want to be that person who stops, not just once, but constantly. Helena had tears in her eyes. Ricardo, it's what I should have done from the beginning. Use the resources I have to make a real difference. And I thought, he looked at Sophia, that maybe when you finished university, if you want, you could join. Help manage the foundation. Give a voice for children who survived. Sophia wiped her own tears. I'd like that very much. That night, after the girls had gone to bed, Ricardo and Helena stayed in the garden under the stars, as they had done so many times before. You know, said Helena, sometimes I still can't believe this is all real. That this is my life, our life, corrected Ricardo. Our life, she agreed. Do you remember that first night, on the road? Every detail, the rain, the fear in your eyes, Beatrice's cough. I was so scared. Scared to get in your car, scared of what you could be, but something told me to trust. And that decision, that one decision, changed everything. Ricardo pulled her closer. It changed everything for all of us. You, the girls, saved me as much as I saved you. Do you think it happened for a reason? That somehow, you were supposed to find us? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe it's just the most beautiful thing about humans, the ability to transform tragedy into triumph, pain into healing, and into beginning. Helena rested her head on his shoulder. I love you, you know, completely, without fear, without reservations. It's an incredible feeling. I love you too. You and our three extraordinary girls. They stayed there for hours. Under the stars of Sintra, two people who had gone through separate hells and found, in each other and in a chosen family, a kind of heaven. The party was in full swing at the Sintra mansion. It was the 10th anniversary of the day Ricardo had found Helena on the road to date. The family, now celebrated annually as Fresh Start Day. Sophia, now 22 and recently graduated in psychology, was radiant in her graduation dress. She had finished university with highest honors and had already accepted a position at the Fresh Start Foundation, where she would use her education and lived experience to help other traumatized children. Beatrice, at 20, was home on vacation from the professional ballet company where she now danced. She had become a prima ballerina, known not just for her talent, but for the pure emotion she brought to each performance. Critics said that when she danced, you could see the story of survival and triumph in every movement. Leonor, at 15, was on track to become a professional soccer player. She was already on the national youth team and had scouts from top European clubs interested. But more importantly, she was a natural leader, using her growing platform to speak about children's rights and non-traditional families. Helena, at 45, was more beautiful than ever. Not because age hadn't touched her, but because happiness had erased the lines of worry and fear, replacing them with laugh lines. She was now CEO of the entire Almeida hotel chain and one of the most respected businesswomen in the country. Ricardo, at 57, had completely gray hair but eyes more alive than ever. He had spent most of his time in recent years on the foundation, which had already helped over 1,000 families escape abusive situations and restart their lives. Thor and Freya had long since passed, but now there were Odin and Skadi, two new German shepherds who patrolled the garden and adored their grandchildren. Yes, grandchildren. Beatrice had married a fellow dancer and had twins, Mia and Emma, now 2 years old, who ran through the garden with the unstoppable energy of small children. As the party continued, Ricardo found himself in the library, the place where so many important conversations had happened over the years. Sophia joined him, as she had done so many times before. What are you thinking about? She asked. About how strange life is, how one moment, one decision, can change everything. The decision to stop that night, yes, if I had passed by, if I had ignored you, where would you be now? Sophia was silent for a moment. Probably dead, she said with the brutal frankness she had never lost. Or back with Rui, which would be worse. But you didn't pass by, you stopped. And that choice saved 4 lives. 5, corrected Ricardo. Mine too. Sophia smiled and hugged him. You know, I spent years not calling you Dad because I thought it wasn't enough, that I needed a bigger, more meaningful word. But I realized something. What, there's no bigger word? That is perfectly adequate, because that's what you are. In all the ways that matter, you're our father, and we're your daughters. Chosen not by accident of blood, but by conscious decision. And that's stronger than any biological bond. Sophia, I love you, Dad. And I know I speak for all of us, Beatrice, Leonor, and especially Mom, when I say thank you for that night. For every night since, for showing us what real love is like. Ricardo hugged her, this extraordinary young woman who had grown from a frightened, serious child into a strong and compassionate woman. Thank you for letting an old, lonely man be part of your story. You're not old, protested Sophia. You're distinguished. That's just a nice word for old. They both laughed and returned to the party, where Helena was telling the story once more, already legendary in the family, of how it all began. And then she was saying to the grandchildren, who listened with wide eyes. Grandpa stopped the car, and you know what he said? What did he say, Grandma? Asked Mia. He said, I won't leave you here, and he didn't. Not that day, not on any day since. He saved us, and we saved him. And together, we built this, she gestured to the whole gathered family. A family that didn't exist 10 years ago, but is now stronger than any blood bond. Emma, the bolder twin, asked, and did they live happily ever after? Helena exchanged glances with Ricardo, a smile on her lips. Not exactly, dear, because happily ever after suggests it's easy, and it wasn't. We had bad days, difficult moments, scars that still sometimes hurt. But you know what? We had what? Love. Real, complicated, imperfect, but unshakable love. And together, day after day, we chose to build something beautiful out of pain. That's not happily ever after, it's better. It's happy despite everything. As the night advanced, the generations mixed, grandparents and grandchildren, old friends and new, people whose lives had been touched by the Fresh Start Foundation. There was music, laughter, and yes, some tears of joy. And when finally everyone had left, When the girls were asleep and the grandchildren tucked in their cribs, Ricardo and Helena stayed once more in the garden under the stars. "Do you have any regrets?" asked Helena. "About that night? About stopping?" Ricardo thought for a long moment. "None, not a single one. You. Except maybe I should have trusted you faster, worried less. You had reasons to be afraid, to distrust. What matters is that eventually, you did trust." Helena turned to look at him. "Ricardo Almeida. You know what you are? Old and tired?" She laughed. "You're proof that heroes exist. Not the movie kind with capes and superpowers, but real heroes. The ones who stop when others pass by, who help when it would be easier to ignore, who choose love over convenience, compassion over comfort. I'm not a hero, you are. To me, to our daughters, and to the over 1,000 families the foundation has already helped. You're the hero of our story, Ricardo, and I'll spend the rest of my life grateful that on a rainy night, exactly 10 years ago, you decided to be exactly that." They kissed under the stars of Sintra, two survivors who had found in each other not just love, but healing. Not because the pain had disappeared, scars never completely go away, but because they had learned that even the deepest pain can be transformed into something beautiful when faced with love, patience, and time. And somewhere, on a dark and rainy road, a woman with 3 girls was waiting for someone to stop. And because Ricardo and Helena had built the Fresh Start Foundation, there would always be someone there. Someone to say the words that change everything. "I won't leave you here," because some stories don't end. They just transform into new stories, new lives saved, new fresh starts written. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful form of happily ever after. This is a story about many things. About the courage needed to leave the familiar, even when it's painful. About the kindness of strangers who choose to help when it would be easier to pass by. About family being more than blood, being choice, commitment, and unshakable love. But more than anything, it's a story about hope. About how, even in our darkest nights, when we're on the side of the road with the rain falling and the world seeming empty, there's always the possibility that someone will stop, someone will see, someone will care. And sometimes, in that unlikely moment, in that meeting of 2 people, both broken in their own way, something magical happens. Not fairy tale magic, but the real magic of human connection, of healing through compassion, of love built on respect and choice instead of possession and control. Ricardo and Helena weren't savior and saved. They were 2 imperfect humans who chose, day after day, to build something beautiful from the ruins of their past lives. And in that process, they didn't just save 3 children, they saved each other. This is the message. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to heal. And it's never, never too late to choose love over fear, compassion over indifference, action over passivity. Because in the end, we're all that woman on the road, sometimes lost, scared, waiting for help. And we all have the opportunity to be Ricardo to stop, to reach out, to say, "I won't leave you here." The only question is, what choice will we make? Sophia, Beatrice, and even little Leonore ran to hug them. Thor and Freya, sensing the excitement, barked and jumped around the group. "So we're going to live here forever?" asked Beatrice. "If you want," said Ricardo. "This is your home." "It always has been," Amelia, watching from afar, wiped tears from her eyes. After 3 years of seeing Ricardo exist as an empty shell of the man she had raised, seeing him now alive, happy, part of her family, was more than she had ever dared to hope.